If you arrive everywhere 10 minutes early and people call you anxious or uptight, psychology says you're actually demonstrating a rare form of self-discipline and respect that most people have lost. Here's what being early really reveals about your psychology. Let's talk about something that makes you both reliable and misunderstood. You're always early, not fashionably late, not just on time early. You arrive at appointments 10 minutes before they start. You get to the airport 2 hours ahead. You show up to meetings while others are still finishing coffee. And people have opinions about this. They call you anxious, obsessive, too rigid. They say you need to relax, learn to go with the flow, stop being so uptight. But here's what psychologists are discovering. Your early arrival isn't a symptom of anxiety, it's a marker of conscientiousness. Respect, and a psychological trait that correlates with success. Trustworthiness and emotional maturity. Research from personality psychology shows that chronic punctuality, especially arriving early, is one of the strongest predictors of the Big Five personality trait called conscientiousness. And conscientiousness isn't just about being organized, it's linked to better health outcomes. Longer life expectancy, higher career success, stronger relationships, and greater life satisfaction. Your habit of being early isn't a quirk. It's a psychological advantage that shapes every area of your life. Here's what separates you from chronically late people. You understand that time is the one resource you can never get back. When you're late, you're not just stealing your own time, you're stealing someone else's. You recognize this fundamental truth. Being on time is a form of respect. When you show up early, you're communicating, your time matters. This meeting matters. You matter. Late people communicate the opposite, whether they intend to or not. They're saying, my time is more valuable than yours. My poor planning is your problem. You should wait for me. Let's talk about the psychology behind your early arrival. Studies from behavioral psychology reveal that people who arrive early demonstrate what's called temporal awareness, a sophisticated understanding of time management and realistic planning. You don't just know what time your appointment is. You calculate travel time, factor in potential delays, add a buffer for unknowns, and plan accordingly. This isn't anxiety. It's executive function at work. You're using your prefrontal cortex to plan, anticipate, and prepare. Late people, by contrast, engage in what psychologists call magical thinking, assuming everything will go perfectly, traffic will be light, and they'll find parking immediately. Here's something most people don't realize. Your early arrival reduces stress, not increases it. Research shows that rushing and running late activates the sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. Your cortisol spikes, your heart rate increases, your decision-making suffers. You arrive frazzled, apologetic, and starting from a deficit. But when you arrive early, you're calm. You have time to breathe, collect your thoughts, and enter the situation from a position of composure. You've given yourself the psychological advantage of peace. Instead of panic. Clinical psychologists have identified that chronic lateness often correlates with deeper psychological issues, difficulty with commitment, passive-aggressive tendencies, narcissistic traits, or ADHD-related time blindness. But chronic earliness? It correlates with reliability, integrity, and what psychologists call other orientation, the ability to consider how your actions affect other people. You're not just thinking about yourself. You're thinking about everyone your lateness would impact. This is emotional intelligence in action. Let's address the criticism you face. People say you're anxious, but anxiety and preparation aren't the same thing. Anxiety is irrational fear about unlikely disasters. Preparation is rational planning for probable events. You know that traffic exists, that parking takes time, that finding a room in a big building requires navigation. Planning for reality isn't anxiety, it's wisdom. The difference is that anxious people arrive early and spend those 10 minutes catastrophizing. You arrive early and spend those 10 minutes peacefully preparing, or simply being present. Research from organizational psychology shows that people who arrive early are rated as more professional, more trustworthy, and more competent even when their actual work quality is identical to latecomers. Your early arrival creates a halo effect. People unconsciously assume that if you're reliable about time, you're reliable about everything else. And they're usually right. Studies show that conscientiousness in one area of life typically extends to other areas. You're not just early to meetings. You probably meet deadlines, follow through on promises, and maintain organized systems. Here's what your early arrival reveals about your values. You value integrity. Integrity means doing what you said you'd do when you said you'd do it. When you agree to a 3 p.m. meeting, you honor that commitment by arriving at 2:50. This seems obvious to you. But it's increasingly rare in a culture where, "I'm running late," texts have become normalized. You've maintained a standard that society is abandoning, and that makes you seem strange to people who've lowered their standards. Let's talk about the cultural shift that's happened. 50 years ago, being on time was the default expectation. Late people were seen as rude and unreliable. But technology, specifically smartphones, changed everything. Now people can text running 15-minute late and expect forgiveness. The ability to communicate lateness has made lateness acceptable. But you've resisted this cultural drift. You've maintained the older standard. If you commit to a time, you honor it. This isn't rigidity. It's integrity in an age of convenient excuses. Studies on time perception reveal something fascinating. People who are always early have a different relationship with future consequences. Psychological research shows that you have strong future self connection. You vividly imagine your future self sitting in that meeting, and you take actions now to make that future self's experience better. Late people have weak future self connection. They discount future consequences and prioritize present comfort. When the alarm goes off, you get up because you're thinking about how stressed future you will be if you don't. They hit snooze because they're only thinking about present comfort. Here's the loneliness of being early. You're always waiting. You arrive and nobody's there yet. You sit in your car, scroll through your phone, watch others rush in at the last second or even late. You start to wonder, am I the weird one? Why does nobody else plan ahead? And sometimes you resent being the one who always has their act together, while others seem unburdened by responsibility. But here's the truth, they're not unburdened. They're paying the cost in stress, reputation damage, and missed opportunities. You've just chosen to pay the small price of arriving early to avoid the much larger cost of chronic lateness. Research from Relationship Psychology shows that punctuality is one of the top factors in trust building. When you're consistently early or on time, people learn they can depend on you. They know that if you say you'll be there, you will be. This reliability becomes your reputation. Over time, this opens doors. People recommend you for opportunities because they trust you. They choose you as a partner, friend, or colleague because they know you'll show up. Your early arrival habit has been building social capital your entire life. Let's address the flexibility argument. People say you're too rigid, that you can't relax. But here's the paradox. Being early actually gives you more flexibility. When you arrive 10 minutes early, you have buffer time. If something changes, you can adapt. If someone needs to talk beforehand, you have time. If you need to find a bathroom, get coffee, or review notes, you can. Late people have zero flexibility. They're locked into rushing because they've used all their margin. Your early arrival creates space for spontaneity and adaptation. You're not rigid. You're prepared. Here's what people don't see. The discipline behind your early arrival. It means you lay out clothes the night before. You set multiple alarms. You check traffic before leaving. You decline that just one more episode temptation. You say no to last-minute distractions. Every early arrival is the result of dozens of small, disciplined decisions that late people aren't making. Your conscientiousness isn't just about time, it's about the character that chooses preparation over procrastination, responsibility over convenience, respect over self-indulgence. Studies show that children who develop punctuality early tend to be more successful adults. Why? Because punctuality requires and develops crucial life skills: time management, impulse control, commitment, planning, and perspective taking. Every time you choose to be early, you're exercising these psychological muscles. You're building a habit of reliability that compounds over a lifetime. Late people aren't just losing minutes. They're missing the character development that comes from honoring commitments. The truth about being early is this: it's not about the clock, it's about respect. Respect for others' time. Respect for your commitments. Respect for yourself and the standards you've set. When you're consistently early, you're living in alignment with your values. You're not saying whatever sounds good and then flaking. You're walking your talk. In a world where talk is cheap and follow-through is rare, your early arrival is a quiet statement of integrity.